Had an epiphany while I was in the shower last night, Paul.
Please do tell.
One, the first epiphany was men's shampoo is too complicated because
Okay, we'll get into that. And what was number two?
so Microsoft, as you might be aware of this, Paul, that Microsoft has killed off a couple consumer services over.
No, do tell. What happened?
Yeah. So I know
Yes.
it's shocking, the ebooks and all that stuff. What is this thing now? What
I know.
this
Well,
this
okay.
this if for those who can't see it because you're listening to the audio, the Microsoft Store.
Right. Well, for those who can't see this, Brad is gesticulating wildly toward an image behind him of a Microsoft store. What is this thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? So I mean, I wrote about this morning, but a couple of things. Let's get back to the shampoo in a minute, though. We do need to address the shampoo issue.
it is.
I mean, let's not forget to do that. So, obviously there are comparisons between the store and the Apple Store. It's kind of inevitable. They do both sell devices, right? We sort of agreed that they don't really necessarily compete directly all the time, but Surface and Xbox, and then third-party PCs, right? And so that serves Windows. And so there's your, the consumer-facing focus of Microsoft has almost nothing to do with consumers, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But when you think about consumption and consumerism, and a lot of that has to do with passively enjoying content, right? Or maybe even lightly interacting with something, which is a very light game or an app, that kind of thing. Microsoft almost doesn't play in that field at all. The things that they make for what I would call individuals are mostly productivity focused. And then obviously people will point to the video game business, which I don't think has anything to do with consumers. Microsoft is targeting, today at least, not so much a mass market of people who are idly playing, jewel games on their phones, but rather what I would call hardcore gamers. I know some will argue that point with PCs, but the people who think that a $500 investment in a console and then $60 a pop for games is the way to go, And it's kind of a limited market. It's kind of a premium market, very much like the premium PC market. And so, yeah, if you would put up a picture of an Apple store and a Microsoft store side by side, lots of similarities for sure. But the more you look around inside, and yes, there are computers, right? I mean, there are devices of sorts. You could probably even buy phones there, right? Don't they sell Samsung and some other
Something
phones
or
and
other,
stuff
yeah.
for some reason? But look, the Apple Store stuff has worked out for that company on a variety of levels, but honestly, I think the single greatest reason to keep those stores is for the support stuff. The ability to go someplace local, talk to someone who knows what they're talking about the product that you own, and get something fixed is humongous. It is a safety net for normal people. And I think that's the primary activity that goes on in an Apple Store. And I don't say that with any sense of criticism at all. It's wonderful that exists. And I think that's the point for the Microsoft Store too, because otherwise Microsoft is this blob up in the cloud that you don't have a relationship with. And if you're having problems with a computer, with Windows, with software applications, with your Xbox, with the Surface in particular, it's nice if you have one of those locally.
I don't know.
Okay.
So here's my logic behind some of this. One, I think we could argue that primarily Microsoft stores are only in the U.S. Yes, there's some others. And I'm not saying Microsoft should get rid of them. Like, they're one in Manhattan, great, keep flagship stores or in strategic locations.
Yep.
But what are they selling that, one, can't be gotten elsewhere, which you can make the same thing about Apple, and I understand. But I'd also say there's three reasons people are in an Apple store. They're buying an iPhone, they're getting an iPhone fixed, or they're getting their MacBook keyboard fixed. Microsoft doesn't really.
I think of it as an ecosystem thing,
Yeah.
right? People who go into the Apple Store, if you're not getting something fixed, I mean, like I said, it's a wonderful thing to have. Because, what do you do when your Samsung breaks, Like, you're going to go to have you ever spent time in a wireless carrier's retail store? It's like the hell's waiting room in there, So I give them props for that. But for the people who just go and kind of browse and look at computers and kind of idly, what they're doing is participating in that ecosystem, right? They're being exposed to products and increasingly services that work with the things that they already have. The reason you buy a Mac if you're an iPhone user is it's going to work better with the iPhone than a PC would, right? And so you get exposed to that. Remember, when they started these things, Apple had almost no retail exposure at all. They had the store within a store thing at CompUSA, which is gone, right? Isn't it CompUSA gone? This was an attempt to get this stuff in front of people because Steve Jobs felt that if people just saw this stuff, they might be taken in by it and would want to buy it. And obviously that's worked out pretty well for them.
Yep.
Microsoft, what do you buy in there? It's like the card for the Office 365 thing. The is anyone
that kills me is I know someone's going to make the argument, well, they sell Surface PCs. That is a great place to showcase them. And you're right.
I agree.
The problem is that 50% of PC Surface sales are to the enterprise. So they're not going through this store. They're
and by the way, the percentage of Surface sales that go to individuals, they're not going through there either.
No.
That's the problem. You just don't reach enough people with the Microsoft stores. They're going through Best Buy and
see that is kind of my point here is that Microsoft has a presence in Best Buy, much like Apple does, Samsung does. I honestly think that they would be better off spending their dollars ramping up and staffing up those locations with their own support people rather than these. Because these places primarily exist in malls, primarily within eyeshot of an Apple store. I mean, that was honestly, I think, their strategy for a while. Is like, there's an Apple store. We need a Microsoft store nearby to sell our products.
Can you tell me what the missing, what the failure of that strategy is?
Yeah.
Right? I mean...
Yeah.
There's a wasteland over here. You can see every speck on the floor, and then the Apple store is packed with people.
Yeah,
but again, this speaks to the markets that they're addressing, really, and I think it makes your point, which is that my saying that Microsoft doesn't truly focus on consumers, I think is it's true. Obviously, I said it. I think it's true, but I don't think it's contradictory to what you're saying. That's not a particularly engaged crowd of people. Office 365 customers, computer users, video games. Maybe you're going to get some kids in there playing games on the Xbox, especially when they have some of the interactive stuff. Remember back in the day, they would have Kinect and kids would jump up and down, and it was kind of a fun area. But yeah, Apple is all about the consumer experience, and Apple sells to businesses too. But I mean, their primary focus is people. They want to get them when they're young. They want to get individuals in there, and they do. And yeah, and I think you were the one that had made the point, I think, some months ago that, everyone compares Apple and Microsoft. You get stuck in this rut.
Yeah.
They kind of don't compete.
No, they really, I mean, every company on the planet competes with everybody. Microsoft competes with Shell Oil in some capacity, I'm sure, but it's not a primary.
Right. You mean as a carbon abuser. So I don't know what that diagram's called, but you have the two circles and they kind of intersect in the middle. Venn diagram. Okay. Cool. So the overlap between Microsoft and Apple has fluctuated over the years, right? There was a period of time where Microsoft was trying to duplicate everything Apple did. They came out with Zune and Windows Phone and whatever. And that's, the middle part of the Venn diagram, that whatever that shape is called, got bigger and bigger. Today, it's just a little thing. And if you, there's a way, I did this after the U.S. election last time. If you look at a map of the United States and you're like, who voted for who, it looks like this giant sea of red and then little blue areas and cities. But if you do it by population and you make a contorted view of the map, what you'll see is basically a 50-50 split, And if you were to make a contorted version, I don't know how you would do this, like a geometric version of a Venn diagram, that sliver of, and the way you're weighting this is by importance to the business or the contribution to the business, that sliver gets even smaller. Yep. Because Surface is a tiny business inside of Microsoft, relatively speaking, and the Mac is a tiny business inside of Apple, relatively speaking. So, the overlap, it's a sliver.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Microsoft might keep these things around because you do make a good point that this is the one connection point that the consumer has to the Microsoft brand. I mean, this is it.
Yeah, but is that connection disappointing now? I mean, I don't know. It's a weird situation to be in where you don't really have a lot of good places to go to look at computers, right? Every Best Buy is different, but I've been in many Best Buys where the PC section is a wasteland. It's gross. Like it's half broken computers with keys missing, and there's a hard cable there where the computer used to be connected, but there's someone, ripped it off or something. It's gross. And so at least with the Microsoft Store, I'm sure there are bad ones too, actually. But I mean, they can kind of control the retail experience, basically do what Apple was doing, whatever that was 15 years ago or so. And there's your reversal of fortune right there, that, Microsoft feels compelled that if they don't defend the PC, no one else is going to. Mm-hmm. And maybe that is part of it.
Yeah, but I would argue that their battleground is in a Best Buy rather than
I agree.
A mall.
And Apple does that, right? Doesn't Apple have people that go to inside Best Buys?
So I don't know if they definitely have like their own little section. Microsoft has the exact same thing, but I don't know if there's actually Apple people there. When I was at my Best Buy, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, mm-hmm. Lenovo is actually getting more aggressive and have their own salespeople in the stores trying to sell Lenovo stuff, which that's a strategy.
I think it's smart. It's smart.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get lost, and especially if you're in a store where Apple or someone has Apple people there, you have to be. You can really skew the impression of people just by doing that. It's like, wow, Apple's going gangbusters in PCs, huh? Look at them. Yeah. And it's like, well, not really, but yeah. I did this Edge thing, which is what triggered this, right? The ebook thing. I sort of think of this as it's a tiny cut. It's not a big stabbing, right? It's not a terrible attack. The suddenness of it, by the way, is kind of crappy. But I think it was calculated because there were probably very few people that ever purchased content from the store. There's probably almost next to nobody who ever annotated an ebook in Edge, which is a crazy activity, but whatever. They're going to have a much bigger problem, if they ever try to get rid of that movie store, for example, because those things cost $20 a piece sometimes. An ebook is a couple of bucks, and I don't think anyone did it anyway. But it's one of 1,000 cuts, and that's the problem. And it's not a major event, but in the wake of all the other stuff that's happened, I mean, what's left? What I was being somewhat humorous when I did this yesterday, but it's like the poll, like what consumer service are they going to kill next? I contacted you. I had a hard time coming up with any. There's almost nothing left. And honestly, if you're being honest about it, about like a purely consumer service, like consumer, it's movies and TV, to which the typical response by the trolls on Twitter will be, Microsoft has a video service? I didn't even know. Which is what you hear about, Google had a social networking service. Oh, I didn't even know. Google or Microsoft had an ebook service. Oh, someone should have told me. Yeah. Well, somebody did tell you.
Just ignored it. But there's no logical reason to buy one there. I mean, if you're going to buy an ebook, buy it on Amazon.
That's the problem. But I guess what we're counting on here, I guess the issue is Amazon does make a Kindle. Actually, but they make two different Kindle apps for Windows, essentially. They're all terrible in their own way. The native Windows app looks like something from the 1990s. I don't think it's been updated in any meaningful way in over a decade. It's like it's a joke. They never came out with a store app. There are a couple of Amazon apps in the store, but it's like the web front end basically. It's bizarre how they've ignored this. But or maybe it isn't. Maybe they understand. The interaction that people have with Amazon on Windows is mostly about commerce. Not about reading books on a computer, which I think we should admit is not a,
I don't want to. I would not sit at my desktop, or honestly, probably even this thing, to read a book. It's just
let's say you have a Surface Pro. You could kind of make the argument it's an all-in-one device. You can in the same way that it may be unusual to edit a Microsoft Word document on a normal iPad. You could do it, and on the Surface, the situation's flipped. It's more productivity focused. You would edit a Word document every single day on that thing probably, but you could read a book. You could read magazines somehow. You could read a newspaper, even though most newspaper apps are not in the store either. It's a problem. It's just a problem. 2 years ago, it's funny because in writing the thing I wrote today, I went to find out what I had written about Edge and ebooks before. And what I found, and because I write so much, I forget these things. But 2 years ago in January, when the Creators Update was being finalized, I wrote a thing where it's like, should you trust Microsoft with content? Content meaning ebooks from the ebook store, videos from the movies and TV store, music from Groove, and so forth, and even apps and games. Really, I mean, and the answer, honestly, sadly, is no. And I trust Microsoft for a lot of things. I trust them with my data. I trust them with my privacy. I trust them to do a great job with certain things. Computers, for sure. Productivity services, absolutely. But like, like would I buy videos from this store?
Yeah.
No way. And I've cautioned people against that for years.
Yep.
That's going to be next.
Yeah. Let's move on to the more important topic, shampoo here. So
Yep.
I had to
Well,
buy some
before we
shampoo
do,
yesterday.
just real quick. You used the phrase shampoo for men.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to think that one through in my head, because it's fair to say that my wife uses some kind of a shampoo that's special for her. She has dry skin, maybe. I don't know if there's I don't think of it as shampoo for women, but I guess as I thought through that, I was thinking to myself, there's shampoo, there's shampoo, and then there's shampoo for special use cases, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you color your hair, you have dry skin or oily skin, or so. What do you? What is?
Well, let me explain
what
how
is
our shower
shampoo
works.
for men?
How our shower works. There is shampoo that I use, and then there's shampoo that I'm not allowed to use because it's my wife's and it's more expensive than mine. And it's
like she gets it at a.
I don't even know where this stuff
hair
comes
place.
from. I'm assuming it's unicorns are excreted into this bottle somehow, and I'm not allowed to use it for whatever reason.
I can reveal to you that our situation is similar.
Yeah, and it usually smells like flowers or something or whatever.
Yes.
Right? There's no shampoo out there that smells like a V8 engine on a hot Saturday afternoon. Right? That there's no lumberyard shampoo. So anyways,
a case for like a new car smell shampoo would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Like a leather, kind of.
Yeah, or like I personally love the smell of Home Depot. You walk into that home store and you smell like the wood and all that stuff. Anyway,
that's true.
So like you go to the shampoo aisle, and there's all the stuff that like I'm never gonna buy. I don't need to smell like mangoes and berries. My kid might appreciate it, but I don't want to smell like a fruit salad. And so you go to look at like what's kind of like the non-gendered, just generic shampoo. Then there's like this, which is like 4 things, like the generic green stuff that we all used as a kid, some baby shampoo. And then there's like a really small section of men's shampoo, and it starts out with just shampoo. And then
it just says shampoo.
And then it goes shampoo and conditioner all in one, 2-in-1 bottle.
Yeah, because we are apes. It's like, seriously, it's a win if you can just get this on top of your head.
Yeah, and then it's like shampoo, conditioner, and body wash all in one. It's like, what am I, a peasant? Like, give me the 3-in-1. And then like it's like you keep going down the line. It's like shampoo, body wash, head wash, car change of your oil, changing the oil. Like they just keep adding all this stuff together, and I don't understand how I don't know. It's complicated. Men's shampoo.
Well, actually, it sounds like it's not complicated.
Yeah, well, they basically have created the spam, like the catch-all solution of shampoos for men.
All right, when you get your haircut, do you go to a barber? Do you go to a? You go to a barber. There you go. That's why you buy that kind of shampoo. So I go the next step up from a barber, and I should be clear. It's not a step up. It's really a lateral move. Is like a what's the place? Like it's called like Quick Cuts or one of those places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a $15 haircut. They will try to sell you product, right? Every time I get my haircut, they're like, "Do you want me to put anything in there?" And it's like, "No, I want you to take stuff off of there. That's why I'm here."
Yeah.
There's nothing's going into it. You know.
I think we need to start a shampoo line. I think
shampoo
this
from
is how
men.
we retire.
It could be like the default PowerPoint style is just white with black text, right?
Yeah.
The label could just be white. It could be like Franklin Gothic 20 type. It's just shampoo. Period.
Yeah.
It's like there's no instructions. This is what it is. It's soap.
The instructions should be, if you need instructions for shampoo, don't buy this.
Exactly. Right. Or if you have any special need whatsoever, and then you just let it drift off because they've already moved on.
Yeah. It's
interesting. I just years ago I picked I don't know if we were at someone's, maybe a home swap or something, or we were somewhere, and they had this shampoo that I think is French. I will never come up with the name of it, but it's very common. It's a common brand. It's not some frou-frou thing, and it smelled like apples, kind of like sour apples maybe. And I made the comment. This seriously is like 12 years ago. I was like, "Oh, this shampoo smells really good. I like this." And now that's what my wife just buys that for me when she goes food shopping. You get it in the same aisle. They have like dog food, and then those things that are not food, they're in like one aisle. You know what I mean? Like party plates.
Yep.
Men's shampoo, dog food.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's like it cleans glass, carpet, and hair. Like it's.
Yeah. Yep.
So there we go. Two
Right,
important
but,
topics.
but you're
Microsoft
right.
Store.
I know not to use my wife's shampoo. That's true. And whatever else is there, there's bottles. There's
I know.
multiple bottles.
And then
Like
there's
you
always
said, body wash. Like I see body wash sometimes, and I'm
there's
like,
also
how?
that shampoo bottle graveyard too that everybody has on occasion. Where it's like it's got just a little bit left, but you don't throw it out. But you open another bottle, and yeah, it's
My big pet. All right, now that we've gone down the rabbit hole, we'll talk about the shower. There's a bar of soap.
mm-hmm.
The bar of soap shrinks over time because you use it.
Yep.
And it gets down to this little sliver that I have big hands, and I can't hold this thing in my hand and actually apply it anywhere in my body. And so I will open a new bar of soap, and I will throw away the little sliver.
Mm-hmm.
This drives my wife insane because that thing is still usable. Now, she has little girl hands. She's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And she could probably continue using the little sliver. But she will apply the sliver to the new bar of soap, and then it will come off when you use it. And that makes me mad. So we have this back and forth over the soap. How much do you think that thing's, think about this, like just from an economic standpoint, right? A bar of soap probably is like 59 cents or less. This thing must be worth like 6 cents.
Yeah.
Here's $1. I'm going to throw this thing away all year long. Just be quiet about it. Like seriously. It's not worth arguing. It's not worth arguing.
Yeah, I mean, you had no problem taking my dollar. I'm sure you can just give it to your wife.
Hey, my wife was the one who took the picture when I spent that on the tip at Dunkin' Donuts. I still remember that. It was a good day.
I'm sure it was. You got anything else for today?
No, probably not.
All right, folks. Well, hopefully you got some education out of that about men's shampoo and maybe some Microsoft Store knowledge or whatever. Have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll catch you right back here tomorrow.